Hello, my name is David Nachman, and I'm one of the managing attorneys at the NPZ Law Group, Nachman Fawani Zimochek, and we have offices located in New Jersey and also in New York. And yesterday we were dealt up a very interesting policy guideline, which came in from SEVP. Probably many of you already have heard about it by now, and that is that international students are not allowed to be engaged in a program which is all online. So there has to be some direct in-person component to their program. So we have a lot of questions that are pouring in, of course, with regard to this new policy. And probably the biggest one is how can they do such a thing at a time like this? Obviously, we're in unprecedented times. And here, SEVP, which is a subdivision of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which probably tells you a lot, which is a subdivision of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, has dealt up this new policy with very little notice to the general public. So first of all, the question comes, can this be done? And the answer is this is an administrative policy, and policy regulations can be implemented by the executive. Really, it becomes a question of whether or not this should go through the formal rulemaking process as is laid out under the Administrative Procedures Act. So that's something that, of course, is ripe for litigation and something that we're maybe going to see happen, namely litigation, within the next several days or even several weeks. But obviously, this whole policy has sent everyone into a tailspin. We, as a law firm, our phones have been ringing off the hook because we've been receiving calls from DSOs, designated student officers, and ISOs, international student officers, who have many questions about what they might be able to do. But the big question, I guess, is, first of all, what is the international student body of Indian students in the United States? So in 2017, there was a report that came out that said there are about 186,000 Indian foreign national students in the United States. And that then there was another study that was done later where the Indian government had estimated about 400,000 Indian students in the United States. And then there was a U.S. government study that said there are about 250,000 Indian students in the United States. But needless to say, that's still a tremendous number of people that are affected by this policy. So how does this policy impact Indian students? Well, basically, those Indian students who are at academic institutions where they're all of a sudden going to a full online program are going to need to make immediate adjustments or accommodations. And so the first way in which they need to look at it is that they may need to start looking at other programs where there are not, where the program is not 100% online. Of course, what we would strongly recommend is that anyone who's affected by this policy immediately reach out for DSOs or ISOs at their academic institutions if they're affected by this, and to speak to them to see whether or not some type of an accommodation may be made to the academic schedules in the universities and the colleges so that they would be able to circumvent this policy, which means basically that the program is not going to a fully, a full online program, but that maybe there's some adjustment that can be made for international students so that part of their program would be able to be done by way of an in-person with social distancing type of an accommodation. What can foreign students from India do to address these issues? Number one, obviously, start to look for other programs and start to put plans, tentative plans in the wings. Of course, going back to what I was saying before, there is the distinct possibility that this policy may end up being held as a result of some type of a restraining order. We have not heard about the institution of litigation as of the taping of this video. However, we anticipate that there will be or could be some litigation forthcoming. Our office has received numerous calls from other members of the National Association of Foreign Student Advisors asking us what we thought about this program. And it's kind of interesting from a historical perspective. We believe that this policy may have its genesis in the development or the roots of the SEVIS, which obviously found its way into the law following 9/11. So it's our guess that the government is going to use some kind of a national security type of argument to, defend its ability to implement this type of a program. Next question that we're getting is, of course, is it legal for them to do this? Well, it probably is legal from a perspective that the executive has the ability to promulgate regulations. However, and as we know from the recent Supreme Court decision upholding DACA, we know that where DACA was allowed to be able to stay in the law, the Supreme Court justices focused on the fact that there was a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act, and also there was big focus on this issue of what's called forbearance. And so we can see these two issues really coming to the forefront also in the event that some type of a challenge by way of a restraining order would be brought, under the circumstances for this particular rule. We're given to understand that some colleges and lecturers are willing to help out foreign students by offering in-person classes with social distancing. And so obviously our attempt to do workarounds for this type of a policy will be to discuss with academic institutions and with their higher ups the possibility of implementing some type of an accommodation schedule or probably a number of credits that might be available to international students through in-person education so that they can circumvent the rigidness of this policy. So yes, we were definitely dealt up a surprise. Certainly, what we see here is a situation where, pardon the expression, but we were kicked while we were down, and we are going to work with our professional organizations, along with the National Association of Foreign Student Advisors, and also along with the American Immigration Lawyers Association to see what we can do to circumvent the onerousness of this policy. So thanks very much for being with us. Obviously, we will do what we can to keep you apprised of any new developments as they occur. Thanks so much for being with us. Again, if you want to get any new and developing information, please feel free to visit our website anytime at www.visaserve.com. Thanks so much. Bye for now.